you hear about joining forces that just getting kicked off again from a standpoint of helping our military and service members. And joining forces is also collaborating between two organizations, Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network and then FourBlock. So I'm Alex Archawski. I'm the founder of the Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network. And our mission here is to empower our veterans to make a great community in Philadelphia for the economic success. So it's employment, leadership, and entrepreneurship in business with our big event at the end of the year, our Veteran Shark Tank. So we want people to really succeed in their job, but also a lot of people go from job to better leaders, and then they own their own business later on. So with that, I want to turn it over to Eric.
All right. Got my microphone on, so I've got that right so far. Great to be here with all of you and to see some familiar names and a couple of familiar faces. I love doing this event, partnering with Alex to speak with veterans, in different stages of their transition, from the military into the civilian world. And like Alex said, they just conducted the Veteran Shark Tank a few weeks ago. It was a phenomenal virtual event with veterans making their pitches, for the grand prize, and everybody involved being supported with business counseling and services. So really neat event, and kudos to Alex and to Ashley and everybody who put that together. So Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network is a network that spans multiple sub-networks of veterans in the Philly area, which is really exciting, supporting each other and building that network to learn about opportunities, careers, support services, and just to have a good time, as a network of those who have worn the nation's cloth or are currently wearing it and trying to figure out what's next. So I'm a retired Army artillery officer. I got out in 2015 and I did some consulting work in the education world and corporate America. And I also was volunteering in the veteran space and building my network with folks like Alex Archawski, and got involved with FourBlock and have been involved now for the better part of 4 years with FourBlock. And we just have a fantastic, time working with veterans to help them develop their careers while they're serving in the military or after the military, depending on their status, guard, reserve, active, etc. And have a lot of fun doing it, building the network, growing the network. I work with veterans in Boston, New York City, Philly, and DC as a regional director, and have a lot of fun doing it. So really enjoy partnering with Alex to do these kind of events for veterans to raise awareness about opportunities and talk about specific aspects of the way forward in career development.
Yeah, so we're excited for everybody to be here, and I think collaboration is key. We did this last year, especially at the beginning of the year. There's your veteran job search in 2021. If you were going to say what that looked like in 2020, absolutely not. It's a whole different environment, and it's a different environment for many people. But like we do in the military, we adapt and overcome in this area. So everybody still needs to job search, and we have people here that are coming out of the military, and some people that are looking to make a transition in maybe they didn't choose the right career path first out of the military, which can happen. So job search success is the most important part. Managing your career is the second part in all this. So every time people think about changing a job, it really comes typically at the beginning of the year. So we found it that, each year we're going to be doing this sort of talk. We started last year really about the process of all that. So let's get started in what we're trying to achieve here today. Apologize if, there we go. So, there we go. So, I wanted to share with everybody, my background is Navy veteran, transitioned twice out of the service. I had the privilege and honor and very humbled to be a search and rescue swimmer in the United States Navy, active duty, and as a reservist, I was with an inshore boat unit that got called up to active duty. And through my experience of transitioning twice and pretty sudden after 9/11, lost my job and then went to deployment, which was legal, but I had to do it all over again. I really realized through all this is what are kind of some of the facing challenges. But from the background of sales and Six Sigma, I realize it's really about understanding what's holding you back. You got to address first a lot of the anchors of before addressing the job searching, going straight to a resume and straight to this and straight to that. So there's a foundation of structure, awareness, accountability. And what I wanted to do is really talk to everybody about that. And really, it's about self-assessment. Job search, you can get a great mentor. You can get to work with you and accountability coaches, which are phenomenal. But the trait of self-awareness is key. You got to understand how to adjust your scope along the way. In the military, we always had a wingman and a wingwoman to help us. We were almost, I believe, almost overprotected to fail, right? And here in the job search, there's a lot of unknowns. It's the first time you don't have all the strong peer groups, but it's really going to be understanding of what could prevent you from a great career search or what is currently preventing you from a great career search. So let's go with topic number one. These are common challenges. It doesn't mean it's particular to you, but it could be some of these are to you. The circle of trust. Circle of trust is going to be about, the people that you surround yourself with, because you only trust a certain amount of people. And that can happen in the military through a bonded experience. It doesn't matter if it's a deployment, war, wherever it is, you find a really tight-knit group. And when you get out, you might be a little bit more reserved. You might be reserved of, you don't find commonality with a lot of the civilians, and it's a new area, new city. So your circle of trust could be limited. That is a big challenge, because when you're job searching, you're going to hear it over and over, and Eric's going to remind you of it, and it's going to be kind of sharing you how to do it. When you're going to try to network, you're going to realize maybe what's preventing you from growing your network and growing your relationship is your circle of trust mentality has always had, you only had 4 or 5 people. But here, you got to put yourself out there. You have to meet new people, and even if they don't know you, you don't know what they can do in return. So some of the reasons why we have a circle of trust and we have kind of maybe what's categorized as trust issues is you got to think about the military. I laugh about it all the time because we should all laugh about it, is we've been jaded at a young age. We've got extended deployment. We didn't get home for the holidays. We've got bad news. We got to clean up. We got to do X. So we're a little bit jaded, and we're cautious when we get out of the military, professionally cautious. That's going to be very hard when you're job searching. You got to open yourself back up. That's key there, number one. My mission is what is your mission? Is it your mission, or is it somebody else's mission? Right now, you're going to get fed a lot of, you should do financial advisor in New York. You should do this. You should do that. You should do, that's basically somebody pointing your mission, right? But identifying your mission is key. So in the military, we had, in the Navy, for all those Navy people here, we had the plan of the day. So it's directed towards us, right? So I know what my mission is for the day. Here, you don't, right? What is my mission for my job? What is my mission for my job search, right? So you have to do self-accountability. So Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network, we do a lot of shadowing. We do one-on-ones. We do take a vet to work kind of programs where you're allowed to see project management. You're allowed to learn. You can see financial advisor. You can see marketing. You can see sales. You can see product design. You can see engineering. The goal is, if you haven't figured out what you want to do, it's on you to figure that out. So my mission is, you can't let other people dictate what you should do, because that might not be the job that you want. That is, be careful of that, because there's a lot of people that go to those jobs, but that wasn't what they wanted to do. So if you have time, as Ted does and all that, is really have those dialogue. Ted is having a dialogue with multiple people in different industries. I forget if it's project management or consulting, but find out who in the network you can talk to say, hey, what do you guys do? What is it that you love about your job? What is it that you hate about your job? Okay, calculate. Oh, I think I want that mission. That sounds inviting. Okay, what do you do as an operations manager? X, Y, work weekends, work nights. No, thank you. Okay, I don't want to do that mission. So really figure that out is important about my mission is. So remember that one. I did, I am. And I apologize too. If any questions, let's save them towards the end of this, and put them in the chat box. And Eric and I will facilitate them as well. So please add your questions to the chat box in there, and then we'll kind of facilitate them between slides or between us both. So I did and I am, and please, share those challenges that you have so we can help you out during this session. So I did, I am is very much about the humbleness. And what I mean by that is, if you ask a Marine what he did, the Marine's going to be like, I did. Oh, no, 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 no. What do you do? I'm a Marine. So the humbleness is not going to get you anywhere during the job search. You have to learn how to value your brain. Eric's going to talk about that more and the importance of it. So when you're job searching, you have to check the box to say, wow, I haven't put myself enough out there. Maybe a little bit more on social, maybe a little bit more here, even if it's not in your DNA, because you know what? Your mission is to get a job. And if your mission is to get a job, then you need to do those activities. You don't have to do it for life. But if your mission is to get a job, then you are competing for a job. So you have to be more out there, more opportunities, really own your brand and own your power of your influence as well. So it's not boasting, it's just real confidence. And I can tell you this, and Eric can tell you this, is you wear a badge of honor being a veteran. It's the most exclusive fraternity, sorority, alumni network that ever existed. So you wear it with a badge of honor as a bonus when you talk to people. You don't have to lead with it, but you can use it at the end. Don't disregard it. So use about the work that you've done in there as well, and you'll learn that through the session with Eric. I'm not an alcoholic. The reason why I say it like that is we never raise our hand to discuss our problems. Nope, I don't drink too much. Nope, I'm okay. So when veterans always are saying, no, I can handle it myself. That's fine. I don't have problems. It's the employer problem. It's the other person's problem. Nobody's hiring me. This is not being great. I'm not an alcoholic. There's a theme out there and you've all seen it. You've all read about it. There's more themes now about extreme ownership by Jocko. So you have to own what your issues are. You have to understand it. That's self-assessment. If you're having a problem getting callbacks with networking, if you have a problem relaying your information and everybody's confused, you have to understand maybe it's the way that you're communicating. You have to adjust your scope when firing down rage. But you have to raise your hand so somebody could help you or you help yourself. That's the key. Lack of info means a lot of people want to go into battle without all their gear, all their stuff. And you need to really have everything aligned. Like today, you've taken the time for the info. So gather your information in there, right? Gather your information in there. This is one of my favorites, not being a Marine. So any Marine out there that's on the call, if you can just open up your mic and say, why are Marines the best at job searching?
We're too dumb not to say, not to quit.
That's a great answer. Not the words I would use, but that's a great answer. What I mean by that, and I might start using that, Doug. That's a really good one. So what I mean by that is the Marines are very mission driven and remove the emotion behind the process. Your job search, of course, will have emotions in there. When trust is an emotion as well, stress, disappointment. They didn't call me back. I didn't get the job. The Marines are focused. They don't put motion behind the process. They storm the beach. They don't care if it's 20-foot seas. They don't care if there's bullets coming on the beach. They storm the beach. Focus on the mentality of being a Marine. So not being a Marine is not the answer. You've got to be the Marine, and your job search will reflect that. We've seen it where people have all the tools in place. They know what they want to do, but they're not charging the hill like the Marine. So I'm going to give you statistics out there. So just so you know, in job searching, it's going to be like this. So it's going to be like baseball. You're at bat with baseball, and if you fail 70% at bats, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Again, I'm going to repeat it. If you fail 70% of the time at bat, you're batting 300, which is Hall of Fame. That's such a low statistic, but it's so high. Job searching is all these no's to get to a yes. So if you compute that in your mission, you won't be disappointed. Oh, a Marine's going to be like, nope, I got my answer. Great, next. Nope, I got my answer. Great, next. Don't be afraid to succeed to fail. And like I said, the military protected us with all these bases and guards and everything else, and we need to learn how to fail. There's going to be some bumps along the road in all this. So learn how to succeed to fail through all this. It's okay if you did something wrong. It's okay if it's not working. It's just an adjustment. This is your first time, second time, or you're really relearning how to ride a bike.
Hey,
I'm gonna
Alex,
go.
I just got to interrupt there real fast because Alex is a professional sales coach expert as well. And he'll tell you, you know, how many no's you got to go through to get to yes. And my boss in FourBlock is a Marine, and he always signs off his emails, attack, 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 right? And it's that mentality. It's that Marine mentality, mentality. Keep attacking. You're going to take some punches. You're going to get dusted and scraped up, but you keep fighting and you're going to get to where you want to get. And of course, the better you build that network and the better you do your homework and collect the information and the better you understand yourself, you're arming and equipping yourself so that you're not going to take as many punches in the process. But it's that relentless attack, both building the network, discovering the opportunities, growing in your ability, and applying for it, interviewing for jobs.
Absolutely. So I appreciate that, Eric, as well on that. And it's so true about having that mentality. So this is an important one that typically is invisible, but this is kind of like if you're going to look at a house, it has to have some sort of structure process. So your job search structure, you could take notes on this during the week to evaluate yourself. It's mindset plus activity plus process equals job. Mindset plus activity plus process equals job. Because if these are not aligned, you're not sure where you're struggling. And it's good self-assessment. So mindset is, I'll give you a couple of different mindsets. There's a world that we use of kind of quitters, campers, and climbers. So there's a lot of people that were overwhelmed by COVID and overwhelmed by government affairs and anything that they can come up with cancellation things, right? So they canceled all their normal activities and it's very overwhelming. That's a personality. That's where they are. There's some of them that are camping. Camping means they're waiting. I'm going to wait until we open back up to job search. I'm going to wait till this. I'm going to wait till that. I'm going to wait till this. That's a camper. You don't want to be a camper. Camper are waiting. They're the waiters. The climbers they're hunting and they're looking and they're searching no matter what environment. So understand mindset. There's also a different mindset. There's called self-limited beliefs. I'll tell you about self-limited beliefs. The veterans, we own it. We are the best at sometimes at self-limited beliefs. I'll give you one. I'll give you a couple. You transition out of the military, and all you're fed from your peers and everybody else. Job fairs don't work. Don't do this. Companies won't review your resume. Companies don't. So your mindset is you're believing everything that happens to those that are not in a good mindset. So you start accumulating all these habits of self-limited beliefs. I shouldn't do this. Here's another self-limited belief. I shouldn't call the CEO. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to network with Eric and Alex. They're busy. I shouldn't interfere with what they're doing. That's a little bit of the humble pie of the veteran. That's self-limited belief. That will prevent you from doing your activity. So you've got to get around that and really understand that those are the things that are going to happen. It happens to a lot of veterans the first time around of, I don't want to bother them, or I've already taken up too much of their time. And that's in your head, not theirs.
Or
activity.
No one's going to want me because, I was an E4, E5 door kicker in the Army, and I don't want to be a cop or security guard. No one's going to want, because that's what I did. Well, it's not what you did as an MOS. It's everything you gained and learned in the military and those skills that you developed that you're not thinking about, like risk mitigation and risk management and leadership and team building and evaluating and quality control and putting together training and supervising and counseling other people, right? And so veterans are famous for limiting themselves to what their military experience was. And that's the wrong answer, because you developed a lot more than just that technical MOS. I was an artilleryman. Nobody wants a guy that's going to okay, yeah, I can put cannons and guns and bullets places and blow stuff up, right? No, Eric, we don't need that, right? That's not what I sell myself on. it's everything else. So I love Alex's discussion on self-limiting beliefs. Veterans are too humble sometimes, and we limit ourselves, and we don't understand our full repertoire of skills and what we bring to the table.
That's so true, Eric. Listen, I'm a perfect candidate of that because I'm an enlisted with a degree when I got out. How the heck are employers going to look at that, right? What does that mean? You know, I went to college and finished up in the military and got out. I was supposed to go to CS, but I decided to transition out, right? But at the same time, I didn't want to have the self-limited beliefs of my value. I knew that I could do a job of an officer in sales and all that stuff. And I had that mentality. I needed to do that. So quick example is that through my mentor, they said, you know, second time I got out of the military, they're going to be like, hey, Alex, you're going to go look for your job, not apply to for your job. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, you're going to meet everybody there, find the businesses that are aligned, and then ask them if they're willing to hire you. And I said, wow, never learned that. So I took it as an order, and I aligned with my mission, and I did it. And I interviewed for a company. I connected with a company that I really loved their business approach. I barely knew them when I got out into the second time I transitioned out, but he was open for taking a meeting as the CEO because he wanted to help the military. And then what I found out is they didn't have a salesperson. So I asked a bunch of questions, and they're like, listen, if at the end of the day, if we do find a good salesperson, we'll hire them. And I put myself out there and said, well, what happens if I'm the right candidate for you? He laughed, but I put myself vulnerable there, but he laughed. And I was more confident to say, no, let's interview and you make your determination. And 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, I got the job. But what I did was I took the instruction of really believing in yourself into this process and not involving self-limited beliefs. I knew my value and it continued on. Don't take hits along the way. Activity is, we'll talk about what the right activity is. That's going to be huge. Is what is high value activity, low value activity. Because that word activity, you could say, wow, what a job search in the week. And you could have hit the wrong activities. You could have hit really low activities, right? And you got to realize what are impactful activities. And I got a slide to show you on that. And process is from beginning to end. You can't skip any steps. It's really about how to form relationships, interviewing, resume, all this stuff that's combined together. The cart before the horse is what do you need to do rather than going straight to somewhere. You know, I'm going to go straight to my resume. Wait. You didn't even find out what you want to do for a career. They're like, well, that doesn't matter. I'm just going to write my past. The employers don't care what you did in your past. You need to tell them what job you want. So that's what the whole thing about career objective is step number one in the process. So understand your process in all this. So I'm going to be, the last couple minutes here are going to be about accountability, and then I'm going to turn it over to Eric. This is kind of a screenshot. And I apologize, it's not the best looking thing, but it's an algorithm that scores you, right? So this is what we call kind of an accountability toaster. So I'll share with you kind of the columns and the rows. These are common job search activities. Common. They're not all, but they're kind of the normal that are in there. So when you're looking at the activities for the week, you can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And at the top, they list everything: applications, networking with targeted industry, one-on-one meetings, phone calls, contact with decision makers, interviews, job fairs, recruiters. Recruiters are different. Job leads received, and a decision. Did they hire you? Yes or no? You need to know how you're doing, because this is like going to the gym. If you don't know what you're doing in the gym, how do you track your success? So you need to understand what you're going to do. This helps you with accountability. As you start your week, you need to know what you need to do by looking at this, right? So your numbers are reflective of, okay, my weekly goal in yellow, 10 applications in a week. That could be low. So if you're working right now and looking for another job, these numbers might be good. But if you're doing this full time, these numbers should be different. All these things should be in place. One leads to the other, leads to the other. If you're networking with a targeted industry, you're going to set up a one-on-one meeting afterwards. After that one-on-one meeting, they may want you to set up a meeting with somebody else, and this is informal meetings, networking. They might see your value. And then all of a sudden they want you to talk to their boss. It's a contact with the decision maker. See how it flows in this accountability chart. And boom, you're off to the races of an interview and maybe a job lead received from all these networking one-on-ones, target industry. You received 2 job leads this week. You received 5 job leads. that shares with you what's working, what's not working. Accountability is the number one of the number one areas that veterans struggle with. And you got to make sure that you're aligned here is key, not just notes, not just maybe I'll make a list of people. You need to know what you're doing. High value activities are in here, and be happy to share it with those that need it as well. So with that, Eric, I want to turn it back over to you unless there's any questions on what I covered.
Yeah, throw some questions out there, guys. There's a lot of great nuggets of wisdom that Alex just went through.
I'm going to flip it over to you, Eric, to share your screen.
Okay. Let's see here. Just before I pull up a couple slides, talk a couple subjects. I take notes when I'm listening and training, and always with the session with Alex, and seeing yourself, learning how to promote yourself, self-promotion, something veterans aren't very good at. We're not taught that. We're just taught service and to be humble servant leaders. But now you have to learn how to promote yourself and sell your value and be confident. Own your brand. Okay. What is my brand? What do I do? What am I good at? Understanding the difference between, am I going to sell myself as a door kicker E5 that led, 5 other soldiers in attacking the enemy with small arms and mortars, or am I going to sell myself as a leader or a team development person? Okay. What are the other skills? Gathering the information, doing the homework, doing the intel collection. You've got to do that to understand the direction that you want to go, and so that you can network effectively and discover the best opportunity for you. And it's almost overwhelming how much there is out there in the directions that we can go career-wise. We're trying to get that first job in that career, because there is a difference between a job and a career. Anybody can go get a job, but is it a job that's going to support your career goals and your mission? So I love that. We all got in the military, no matter what level, people gave us missions, and we were operating under commander's intent and a mission statement. Now we're the commander, and we get to design our intent, and we get to write the mission orders for ourselves. And then we get to figure out the activities to pursue, like Alex talked about, and develop that accountability to hold ourselves accountable as we attack our mission, and then just attack and keep going forward. So I think there's some great, valuable points in there to keep coming back to as you think about the transition process. And also the fact that it can take, you can get lucky and hit something very early on, or it could take months to develop relationships and networking to find the right, the right place and get the interview and nail it. And then, is the activity just busy, or is it targeted? Is it meaningful? Are you just slinging resumes out there left and right without doing the homework and really figuring out how to tailor those resumes and your cover letter so that you're going to get an interview? Do you know people at that organization so that they can vouch for you so you get the interview? When you're applying for a job, sometimes 300 and 400 other people are applying for the same job. What's going to get you the interview? If you have relationships, which Alex talked about, which ties back to knowing yourself and understanding yourself, building relationships, being willing to network. Okay, now you have a network, and you have people that will vouch for you or give you a recommendation so that you actually get the interview, versus the 350 other people that apply that are just as qualified or maybe even more qualified than you, right? So that's very important to think about. I'm going to share my screen and just talk about a few concepts here. A couple skills. All right. So the first one I want to talk about is the elevator pitch. All right. And this is basically introducing yourself to other people, and you're going to have to do it right. And you did it differently in the military. And now, you're getting ready to come out, or you've been out of the military for a while. You sort of feel like a fish out of water. And so how do I introduce myself effectively in the networking process? And so this is the classic elevator pitch. Comes from the concept that you're in a building, you step on an elevator, someone introduces you to someone, and you have 15 to 30 seconds, the time that elevator gets up to the 8th or 10th or 15th floor, and that person gets off. That's how much time you have to effectively introduce yourself and make an impression with that person. And it could be the CEO of a company or the director of operations or the VP of whatever. And so how are you going to introduce yourself? Now, I would suggest that this is not the correct technique. This is a little bit aggressive, a little bit in your face. This might not work well. I've never seen this movie. I got to do some research on it. It's a Sundance Film Festival thing. I don't know. Anyhow, I think the actor on the left is famous, but anybody know who that is? I don't know who it is, but I got to figure out who it is. But that's a little bit too in your face. But we do want you to operate with confidence and poise so that you can introduce yourself effectively. All right, so let me get something out of the way here for myself here. So your elevator pitch is an introduction. It's always being pitched and perfected, and you can have different versions on this, but it's something you actually practice in the mirror. You practice with other people. You practice until you own it and you feel comfortable and confident with it because you want to come across confident. This is your chance to quickly and effectively introduce yourself to another professional so they remember who you are, what you're about, what you want to do, and what you want, so they can think about how they can connect you. Or is there an opportunity in their organization? Or do they want to learn from you? Whatever it is, you're building your network. Very briefly, you're giving a person an idea who you are and what you'd like to do, what you're about. And you can put a hook in this, or it can be relatively straightforward. Okay. If the person's in a position where they can be a resource for you, they will be able to know right away, based upon how you introduce yourself, who they're going to connect you to, what opportunities they know of available for you. If they have a buddy or a friend in another organization that they'd like to connect you to because they don't have anything in their organization, if they want to become friends with you, learn more from you, etc. So you do this in a way that's going to help them very quickly figure out how they can help you, how they can connect with you, what they might be able to do for you, or what you may be able to do for them. Be bold, be brief, be warm. All right. You've heard the expression, be bold, be brief, be gone, right? In briefing. So I've kind of put a little bit of a spin on this. You know, I think the elevator pitch is something you want to get done in about 15 seconds. I want that confidence and I want you to be warm about it, but not as warm as this gentleman in the picture, right? Same thing I tell people for their LinkedIn profile picture. If you've got your war face on that you used in the Marine Corps or in the Army or in your typical DA photo, that ain't cutting it. That's not inviting, right? That's not warm, right? That's not, I want to have a relationship with you. That's more like, I'll get to know you, but I'm ready to kill you at the same time, right? That's not effective in the civilian world. So you got to be warm in the way you introduce yourself to people. All right, so here's the basic components of an elevator pitch that we teach in the FourBlock program, and there's a reason for everything here. Your full name, right? If you just give me your first name, how do I find you later? Because I don't have your full name. So, you know, hi, my name's Eric Stetson. What you did in the service and how long? Okay, so people are generally interested in, sympathetic to, curious about veterans. So when you can introduce yourself to people and you can tell them, you know, I served in the Marine Corps for 10 years in the infantry. What are you doing now? Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm showing you, how am I pursuing my future now? How am I improving myself? What am I learning? Okay, how am I serving in the community now? Maybe it's volunteer work. All right, because I want to know that you're not stagnant, right? I want to know what you're doing now to move forward, and I could be very impressed based upon that. And then finally, what do you want to do? What do you want to pursue, or what are you interested in? Because that tells me, that's the hook, or it tells me how I can help you, or who I want to introduce you to, or if I want to talk to you more after I get off the elevator. So, and I can, because I know your last name now, and I may have to ask you for your name again, but I got your full name, which is another reason you always want to walk around with a business card, just a very simple plain business card. But the elevator pitch, you can do this in different order. You don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can go 3, 2, 1, 4, whatever's comfortable for you. And you can include that you have more than one interested area of interest that you're pursuing as well. It doesn't have to be one focused area. If the higher the degree to what you want to do and the area you want to head, it makes the elevator pitch easier, but it doesn't have to be just one area. So 15 seconds. Hi, my name is Eric Stetson. I served in the Army Artillery for 24 years, leading people, building teams. Right now, I work for FourBlock as a regional director. I'm developing our business into additional cities and with our virtual program. And I'm trying to establish more relationships out there with universities. And what I want to do in the future is continue to build this program across the nation to serve veterans everywhere. Okay, so that was a little bit long, right? I threw in a couple extra things. It depends how much time you have. It depends, you got to read the other person as well. But I want you to know who I am. I want you to know that unique background in the service. I want you to know what I'm doing now. I'm pursuing an MBA, I'm pursuing a certificate in whatever. And what do I want to do next? All right.
So Eric, I want to go back
Yeah.
to that slide there, but you don't have to bring it back. It's just really more of, we live in an extrovert and introvert world, right? So for a lot of people that are accountants, IT, it's a struggle. It could be a struggle, and there's no doubt about it. So we're not doing this to kind of share it, voila, right? It's really about focused, like the Marine, that you have to do it. Need and want, right? Do you want to do it or you need to do it? Is really just thinking about it like that, because most people stay away from those activities they're not good at, and they stay away from activities they don't want to do. So it's kind of like you see this piece of equipment in the gym and you're like, oh yeah, I need to use that. And you walk around and use other things. This part right here is so critical, that feel uncomfortable to feel comfortable, right? It's the biggest part of it that can come naturally from others, and others it will not. An addition layer to this too is there's a soundbite that you should all know, and it's called "You're judged by the questions you ask and not the statements you make." So yes, you're making the statement, but afterwards you need to make sure you flip it over. What do? You need to be the intel officer. You need to really flip it over and say, what do you do? How did you get there? Eric is one of the best at it. Eric has so many questions, and he wonders why he's so knowledgeable. It's not about him fact finding, he's really the intel officer. So all this is to remember, you need to know the rank of the person. Are they mid-manager? Are they senior? Who are they? What value? Why do they rule the roast in this networking group? Are they high value asset, low value asset? Low value asset, skip them. Go on to the next one.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Thanks for the compliment, Alex. Actually, as an intel officer in the artillery, I didn't think I was that good.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think you ask really good questions, and I think that stands out. And we all will remember the people that ask us questions, because the people that you're networking with, they love talking about themselves.
True. And Alex raises a great point about asking questions. I think I might have to put an asterisk into this thing and build it a different way. But two things: you may not get through your full elevator pitch before being interrupted with a question or a comment by the person you're talking to. That's okay. Just make sure you return and finish up the components of the elevator pitch, so that they've got that whole picture. And maybe their question is one of these items, and you could do it in any order you want to do it. It's the same thing. We're not going to talk about telling your story today, but in every interview, you're going to be asked a question. Give me your background, tell me your story, tell me about yourself. It's all really the same question. And it's a strategic opportunity to share more about the person in a very deliberate fashion. And you're going to be interrupted in that sequence. As long as you've got that heads up display in your vision of the bulleted points you want to get through, whether it's your elevator pitch, introducing yourself, or your story, you're in good shape. So that's the first thing. Second thing is what Alex said about asking questions. Going back to the G2, the doing the intel work, to doing your homework. If you ask a question of a person that you're going to meet, and it's a question that could have been answered in a 2 or 3 or 5 minute review on the internet, you just made yourself look, weak, right? So you got to ask good questions for those prepared engagements, so that you can show you're a serious player. Very, very important. All right. So let's move on. Talk about networking with a purpose, and I've got a diagram I want to run through fast and just talk about a few concepts. And some of it Alex touched on already a little bit, but I think it's really important. So, here's a process, right? And having those cups of coffee, talking to people, asking questions, learning, doing that homework to figure out who do I want to identify, who are the points of contact I need to identify and find them so I can connect with them, right? Connect with them via LinkedIn, a phone call, an email, sharing something in common, especially if it's a veteran, because 98% of the times veterans will respond to another veteran, regardless of rank or branch or timing, if they want to connect to learn more, right? So pointing out what you have in common, why you're connecting. Quick note on this, on LinkedIn, we say never just hit that connect button. Always use a personal message when you connect. Go to the person's profile screen, hit connect, and choose that option to use that personal note to identify what you have in common, why you're connecting, what you're asking for, or what you want to collaborate on. And then I'm going to read that note. And if you're a veteran, about 99 to 100% of the time, I'm going to get back to you. But if you connect with me and you don't do the note, I might just skip blow by right by you because I'm busy, right? And I don't know why you're bothering me. So always use a personal note. Follow up, all right? Send a note afterwards, thanking that person. Here's probably the first place you're showing gratitude. Thanking that person for their time, follow-up question, give them an answer to something, and maybe you're asking to see who else they know that you should connect with, right, in the follow-up. And then you're exhibiting interest and curiosity and gratitude in that ongoing relationship. Doing that, you're making an impression. I'm remembering you when an opportunity comes open. I'm like, oh yeah, I talked to this guy 3 weeks ago. Let me go find who that was, because this person made a great impression and I want to connect them to an opportunity. Or I'm going to go into my boss and say, my team and say, hey, we should probably try and recruit this guy or gal. We know them, right? And then you're paying it forward. In a relationship and networking, it's also about what you can do for other people. So how can you pay it forward? How can you support their initiative? How can you connect them with the other people that you know, so that you're just not taking, you're giving in the relationship also. So network is kind of let me go back here first. Network is kind of a dirty word in some people's opinion, right? And for some veterans, and they see it as smoozing and versus just shutting up and doing your work and getting on with the mission, right? Well, in the civilian world, totally different. We network to develop opportunities to help other people. We network to learn and grow and to learn, right? Very importantly, to learn. I've learned so much from the people I've met through the FourBlock program as a coach, as a regional director, as a recruiter, as a fundraiser. So we learn through networking, all right? And then we develop our career into the future through networking. When things go wrong, or we get laid off, or we have to shift gears, our network is what we rely on to help us figure out the new and chart the new path. And with our network, we have the ability to help and serve other people. So network's not a dirty word. Network is relationships in life, and it's critical to success in business and to your future career. Now, I just want to cover real fast 3 key relationships. One of the reasons that we network. We network sometimes to find a coach. We network to find mentors, and we earn sponsors. Okay. Coaches can be assigned to you by a company, or you can go out and hire a coach or find a coach. A coach is going to give you feedback on skills. Okay. What you're doing. Mentors, we go and we find mentors, develop mentors. They listen to us. They encourage us. They reflect back to us. They're not coaching us on how to build a resume. They're not coaching us on how to build a LinkedIn profile. They're giving us ideas. They're nudging us in directions, and they're encouraging us as we go along the path. Very, very important to have a mentor, at least one, and also to figure out who you can mentor. Sponsors are people that are going to put skin in the game to promote us, to send us to someone for an interview, to give us a project, to recommend us for a job. They're putting their name on the line when they sponsor us, when they try and promote us for that opportunity. So our job is to kick it out of the through the uprights, knock it out of the park, do a great job, make that sponsor look good for giving that recommendation or putting you in that position. And then all along the way, these are relationships. We go back and we keep our sponsors informed. We keep our mentors informed. We thank our coaches. We keep them up to date on what's going on in our lives. We ask how we can help them, right? Because they helped us. So these are key relationships, and understanding the difference and understanding what they do is important. Okay. And so I kind of did this in reverse order. I apologize, but that's kind of the relationship and how these folks work. All right. So spending time on understanding these relationships and thinking about who in life, I'm going to stop sharing real fast. Part of one of the accountability actions, activity and process that Alex talks about is right now going backwards and figuring out who have your mentors been, who have your sponsors been, who has coached you in the past, and getting back in touch with those people and thanking them and updating them and letting them know what you're trying to do next and where you're going. Because you know what? One of them may have the opportunity and the right connection for you, and you didn't know it, but because you reached out to that person, bingo, they've now set you up with someone that's going to help you in the right direction. So go backwards and figure out who those sponsors, coaches, and mentors are, those relationships you've been out of touch for a while, who got out of service ahead of you that's doing now what, at what company. Get in touch with them, inform them, let them know what they're doing. I love it when my former cadets get in touch with me. Now they're captains in the Army and they tell me what's going on and what's going on in Syria and what they're doing, what they want to do next. I love it. They want a letter of recommendation, bring it on. I'll hook you up. Right. So I love to hear what they're doing and to advise them and coach them. So that networking activity is important, and you want to network with a purpose, and you want to follow up, and you always want to express gratitude. You want to develop the accountability mechanism for yourself and the activities that are important. And you want to understand yourself, like Alex talked about, and where are your deficiencies? Where are your weaknesses you got to work on? You know, I am totally uncomfortable with telling my story. Well, I better get uncomfortable so that I can get comfortable with telling my story, right? That's how we have to challenge ourselves and move forward with that process, those deliberate activities, and building those relationships so we can push our career path forward. So I'm going to shut up now and take questions.
Well, you know, before we do that, I want to reiterate what you said, Eric, I think, which is really good about deliberate actions and deliberate activities, deliberate networking. I think the word there is very, very important to use. And I like that. And I think we should take note of that as kind of, rather than just the activities, it's a deliberate activity, right? So I think that is really, really good, because the hardest part is the military hardwired us they told us what to do. So now it's our turn to hardwire. So don't feel like you need to struggle alone in that. When before we go to questions, just so everybody knows, a lot of people says, well, who should it be? Don't wing your network. I would do a couple of different databases. Start with school, elementary, middle, high school, college. Don't discount any of them. They're there. Don't discount that you haven't maintained a relationship. People will be happy to know, oh my goodness, John's coming back out of the military. How can I help? There's a patriot out there somewhere. Yep. Don't discount them just because the relationship in the past. So that's one area. Your military, right? Your military network, people that come in out. And then you have your activities network, church, sports, everybody else. You should have a really good list before you even make the first dial. The problem is, this goes back to process. Everybody starts trying to find a networking and they never had their master list. So create your master list and then you'll never run out. Keep adding. But that's the first step in the network is don't struggle and stress to find people. One of the things I wanted to add, and I forgot to say this last session, is you have to be a professional asker when you do this. At the end of the meeting, say, hey, Eric, thanks for your time. Can you by chance introduce me to two people that you feel comfortable in introducing? And that means you are now in charge of growing your network. You don't wait for Eric to do it. Don't wait for me to do it. Nobody asked us. So you have to be an asker. Can you introduce me to somebody? And at the end of the day, some will, some won't. But that will be an ask. So do the math there. So if you do 2 equals 4, 4 equals 8, 8 becomes 16. That's how you grow your network. If you run out of your database, then you have to build your database. So it looks like there's a bunch of questions here. I see the first one here from William Todd, who did it a while ago. William, your question is how to network with target industries. Can you expand on that question? Go ahead. I know you're still on mute, but go ahead if you can.
Okay. Yes. Well, I understand what network. Good morning, everybody. As a matter of fact, I'm Army. I don't know who else out there's Army. You know, sound like a little partial to who is a little partial to the Marines. But yeah. Well, what I mean, Alex, is in terms of I know I can network with, or where there are networking events, just person to person, or persons who work for specific companies. But now, how would I go about connecting with persons in the industry? One, specific industry specific, like those types of events, and two, during this virtual era that we presently have.
There's I'll add a flavor and Eric will add a flavor, right? So this is about the lack of info part, right? Which is honestly, it's hard to find in the virtual world. So there's the Department of Labor, right? The Department of Labor has an area that you can see the different areas and how they categorize different industries, IT, manufacturing, you name it, so on and so forth. Is there a specific industry that you're looking at?
Yeah, mine's would be safety, security, investigations.
Perfect. So stay right there, right? So
I know they have an NIS, a NICS code for that.
Yeah, and you and I will talk offline, William. So this is good. By chance, every major organization has a big umbrella. The Association of Plumbers, the Association of Electricians. So ACES, have you ever heard of ACES?
Absolutely, I'm a member.
Yeah, right. So I'm using that as an example. I have no idea how I know this. So I'm using that as an example of there's Philly chapters. We were actually partnered with them years ago. We did something with them for veterans and security. So let's talk offline. They meet. You have to look at it. Those chapters, everybody converted. I don't know if you have or not, but don't discount just because it's not happening. It's not as fluid. We are all doing these associations, and that's just one, right? So you're a member of one, and that means, have you answered the question, have you done enough in that organization? And only you can answer that question, right? But there's other ones in there. If you could look at it, and then we'll talk offline, shoot me an email, and we'll match the list. And then that will be your start of connecting with those groups to see about the local chapters and networking those chapters.
Excellent, thank you.
I want to throw in on this. Actually, it is more acceptable in the world than ever before to network by phone, email, or virtually, because everyone's got an excuse. COVID, right? Before, we wanted to do it face to face, and it was expected. Why didn't you come and shake my hand, right? So we all want to go back to shaking hands, but we want to take advantage of the virtual space and use it to the max. And so that's what people are doing. The associations like Alex just talked about, like Association of Training and Development, Society for Human Resources, Construction Management Association of America, the Lawyers Guild, all these associations, they are operating virtually, and they're doing their meetings virtually via Zoom. And so we definitely want to drive on. If you know the space that you want to go and you want to be involved in. When I got out, I became a member of Association of Training and Development, because I'm like, yeah, that's what I've done in the military. I like doing it. So I'm going to join this association. I'm going to learn from civilians about what that looks like in the military, in the civilian world. And I met a really good friend through that process and started doing some corporate consulting, and got a certification through a company called NE International through that process. So, and like Alex said, trust up front. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I don't know if it's the right way to spend money or spend time or anything. And I kept talking to my wife. My wife's like, quit being just go do it. Right. You got to, yeah. So
we all need it. We got it in the military when nobody's there in the house to do it for us.
That's right. But she's like, get your butt, go. So, so that's one thing. Second is LinkedIn. Okay. So LinkedIn, as a veteran, you can get LinkedIn Premium for 1 year free because you're a veteran. We tell people to use it 6 months prior to separation from service, So you have it 6 months before you're out and 6 months after you're out, if you can bracket it about like that. LinkedIn for Veterans has awesome training on it for how to use LinkedIn to discover and learn about industries, job opportunities, and to build your network. It is an extremely powerful tool.
Excellent.
In this day and age, if you're going to work in the professional space of corporate America, it's about a 99% you must be on LinkedIn and have a decent profile and know how to use it. So we spend a lot of time on that at FourBlock. LinkedIn for Veterans is an awesome resource. Check it out, take advantage of it. And then, like Alex was talking about, circling back through those different networks of people that you know or associations you've been with, you find out the people, when you're doing that, you find out the people interested in the industry you want to go into, and you connect with them and you say, hey, Jonesy, you're doing this. That's what I think I want to do. I need to learn from you, brother. Talk to me. And you set up those phone calls and you have those chats. I just got back in touch with a guy who graduated 2 years ahead of me in high school. Right. And so we're going to have a conversation, and I'm like totally pumped to catch up with him and figure out, what he's doing and learn about his company. So Alex is right. People like reestablishing contact and getting an update, learning what you're doing. And then you follow up and you ask for, who else should I talk to? Who do you know? And if any of you after this contact me and say, Eric, who should I talk to about X? And I can't give you an answer, I feel like a jackass, right? I feel like I'm a loser. So I'm going to bend my brain to figure out who I can connect you with, because I do not want to fail. I don't want to fail.
There's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth to us, the succeed to fail part, right? I don't want to, I don't, Eric, you hit it right on the head about that. Is the first step is the key. So some of the sentences, believe it or not, is, well, it's like the military tells us to be very direct. Okay. You make a phone call, being like, hey, Joe, I need the truck to pull up at 3 o'clock. Click. Helo at 5. Click. So in this relationship building, you can't be too direct of like you're looking for a job.
Yeah.
You have to practice the language of, hey, Bill, we're connected online. You're an ACES. I'm an ACES. I'd love to learn what you do and, find out how I can best communicate with you. And, and then we're like, oh, okay. So there's no threat. And then it said, Bill, I'm a member, but I haven't really met a lot of people here. And they're like, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm just in the middle. And you do it just by chance. You roll it off your tongue rather than a song and a dance. Because when people say, I'm currently unemployed or I'm currently looking, they use like 8 million sentences to explain that. So when you're explaining it, to say, yeah, I'm in the middle of transition right now, just looking for new opportunity, period. A lot of people struggle and they go into the whole reason why they're looking for another job.
Yeah.
So make sure that when you practice this, and it's rehearsal, and Eric and I would be happy to do mock with you guys, to do mock phone calls, catching up, trial. It's really good to do these mock ones. It's really good. It's like we do it for sales. We do it for sales is like you practice it, right? Say, hey, I want to see how I'm going to sound when I call people. I've never done this before. What do you do? How do you do it? And then eventually you're going to flip it over to you. Will, what are you doing? I'm transitioning. I'm in the middle of job search right now. I'm really looking to expand my network and just see what jobs are out there. But if you're targeted, William, and then you see that he's connected to a job that has a job opening and you built that rapport, you'd be like, hey, Eric, I don't want to sound too forward, but I really noticed that you're connected to the company where I see an opportunity. What's the best way for me to apply here? You didn't say, how can I help? You didn't tell me to go do it for you. You use the words are careful. Careful words are the key in that.
That's a key point is, what's the best way to apply, because there are different ways to apply for a job. And sometimes you have to have a little bit of baseball insider knowledge about what the company's looking for. And some companies will actually direct exactly how they want you to apply. And if you don't comply with that, you don't even get into the system. But it's really about human relationships. And so if you're building those relationships, they're going to pan out for you. I shared 2 things in the chat. One was an Excel sheet for tracking your network. And it was developed by a captain out of this 82nd Airborne who came out, and he used it like a fiend to track everybody he met with, when he talked to them, what the follow-up was, what the connection, industry, everything. It worked very well for him. And we've shared it in all of our FourBlock classes, and other people use it also. And you can modify it or adjust it. And the other thing is an organization called candorful.org. And that is an organization that does free mock interview training for veterans and their family members for jobs. And so if you call them up and say, Candorful, I want to interview for this job, they'll do 3 mock interviews with you to take you in a sequential interview process and give you feedback. And they are very good at it. And so we tell all of our people about this organization. They're doing phenomenal stuff for veterans. We've partnered with them. So, you know, like Alex said, we'd be happy to jump on the phone and do little rehearsals with you. But you want to do mock interviews to practice for interviews, and you want to, and I recommend doing candorful.org. And it's the first place I would go if I was getting ready. So
I think we're a little bit over it. I want to be conscious of time here. You know, reach out. Our info is in the chat. So if you want to take a moment to capture that of our information that's on there, to reach out and to any of us, we connect with social media to see all the programs that are out there as well. And I'll put my cell in there too. So
that's a great point. And trust me, between Alex and myself, there's not an organization in the Philadelphia area that supports and works with veterans we don't know about, and we don't know their leadership. So, you know, please let us know whatever kind of support you need. We're here for you, and we want to help. So,
Eric, you want to mention the upcoming class that you have? That I don't know if I know Jason may have attended. I don't know if Ted and William know about it.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. So the FourBlock program runs a career readiness program. We talk about some of these skills and more. We have 10 different modules of critical skills that we teach to help you prepare for finding a new career. And at the same time, we're helping you develop your network with a different company every week that hosts us. And we usually do this in person, but now we do it virtually for the current COVID situation. And we figured out how to do it pretty well on Zoom. We start in Philadelphia on the 26th of January, and we go for 12 weeks, skipping the St. Patrick's Day week, Tuesday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. You expect about 2 hours of homework, you know, self-study, project work time a week on your own, 2 hours with us virtually. But since we're virtual across the nation, if someone like Ted P's in San Diego, is that where you're at? Okay, so you could do FourBlock virtually in San Diego right now. Or if you know you're moving to Philadelphia, do it with us in Philadelphia this spring, build your network before you get here on the ground. It's the beauty of the virtual world. And if you have a buddy who's in Australia right now on some ship, on some dock, or with a Marine or whatever, they can do it from Australia virtually right now too.
I don't really associate with Marines, you know.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool operating virtually like this, even though we prefer face-to-face, of course. And we also actually have a veteran spouses program. So if your spouse, like my spouse, was jerked around in her career for 20 some years with a lack of continuity, and she has struggled and trying to figure out a career path, have her check out FourBlock.org and the career spouse program. So,
well, it's funny, the way I met Alex was my wife worked with his wife, and I was just Googling Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network, and she's like, Archawski. Somebody, and they just pulled up Facebook, and it was his wife, and then that's kind of, because I was just looking, I knew I was moving back to the Philly area, so I started the grind.
You never know.
I wanted to add one quick thing, because I talked with Alex last spring, and it was super helpful in kind of narrowing where I was looking and how but I mean, I just messaged people on LinkedIn and said, hey, I want to talk with you. Do you have 30 minutes? And people just love to talk. I did it for my MBA capstone project. I talked with people I never imagined. I'm putting together an event for the Veterans Association for my grad school. And I just emailed the CEO of J&J and asked him to come speak with me, or come speak at the event. He forwarded it to the head of military affairs for J&J, who said he'd be happy to help. So like, I didn't get the CEO, but he sent the email right to the guy who runs their J&J program. And we're putting together, it's called The Value of the Veteran, on how to teach veterans and hiring managers how to talk to each other in a values-based situation, so they can learn that, hey, I don't, you don't know what a naval officer on a ship does, and you don't know what an artillery officer does, but I can tell you what my top 5 values are, and I can tell you how I applied them in work and how I would apply them. And so that's kind of what we're working towards, and that's what they're going to come talk about.
Nice.
So
yeah, I'm glad to hear it's coming to fruition that way. And So that Ted, you hit the nail on the head right now. Of there's zero self-limited beliefs that you believe that you can call any CEO you want. And I think you guys have to look at it where you were asked at a young age to do things in the military that most people never did. So your super skills are there. It just sometimes it's hiding and sometimes it's not being used. So, and when you graduate from the military, it feels like everybody got locked away, right? So use that confidence and use that charisma and use that and attitude right there for finding contacts. So that's a great one to use, Ted, and William and Jason as well, as always be hungry for new contacts. But it's okay to be disappointed along the way.
Yeah, that's right. It'll happen.
People are gonna go.
The worst they say is no. Like,
Yeah, right.
they don't answer. Okay, cool. Next. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt you at all.
And follow
Yeah.
up too. Follow up too, right? None of us are perfect. We drop the ball. We miss people. And
Yeah, Jason, what were you gonna say?
I would say no, absolutely. Just to caveat on what Ted was saying with Alex, you and Eric are saying. I mean, I've had to. I transitioned in 6 months. I retired in 6 months, but I started this process like 24 months ago. And Eric knows that the kind of the job we have here at JBMDL, you get that flexibility to do that, to have the opportunity instead of being like a BCT where you're going 100 miles an hour, still trying to navigate the transition and the retirement path. But yeah, the LinkedIn thing. I mean, I have it now where it's basically my full-time job. I have at least 2 calls a day with folks from industries I'm looking at entering. Just before this, I had a call with a senior VP in USAA with USAA, and then another guy at Pfizer. So it's tremendous how just the networking, and it's uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable at first, but once I got into it and did it more, now it's like addictive. Like I love talking to folks. I love reaching out, even if it's just to hear their story, how they navigated transition. You learn so much, and the value you get is you can't put a price tag on it. And it's just, so far for me, it's been successful. I mean, I'm still too far out to have like a job offer, but still the network I've built and the road I'm paving, I believe will land to a career, a post-military career.
And Jason, you just made a really important point, is as you develop the network, you have to keep it warm, and you can't ghost on a person and come back a year later and say, hey, I'm applying for a job, remember me. So you're doing a good job of figuring out who to keep warm in network and how to start to refine who you actually do network with. Cast the net, like Alex said, cast the net really wide at first. And then as you refine the focus, start to bring that net closer and closer in for targeted networking action for both people and companies. By the way, we got contacts at J&J. We got contacts at USAA. One of my old captains who worked for me is at USAA now, Jason. So, I can put you in touch. So,
Jason,
I do have to leave though, because you can stay on with Eric if you want. I just want to make sure if there is an Irish goodbye, it is my fault. So if this whole program shuts down, I think Eric is co-host, but I got to log off. Contact me, and you guys go kill your job search.
all right.
Alex, Jason, have you looked into SkillBridge? Because that's something that I'm going to leverage on my transition out.
Yeah, so actually I did. So I signed up for the Hiring Our Heroes here in JBMDL.